And I kept thinking, we need to do something for people who have all the ideas and most of the future and not enough money to do everything they'd like, but they may change the world.
There are a lot of people who believe that you have to wait until maybe your hair is a little bit more my father's color than our color to make a difference. And we think that CGIU is the greatest repudiation to that.
I'm fascinated by how many times a very small, simple idea just revolutionizes things. Do you have any examples of anything?
Yes.
Hello everyone, I am Jean-Paul Laurent.
My name is Mariam Adil.
Deandra Nichols.
Yita Kwong. My name is Gavin Armstrong, and I'm the president and CEO of the Lucky Ironfish Project, a social enterprise that is working to eliminate iron deficiency worldwide.
Now I'm the founder and CEO of Think of Us that provides foster youth in the United States with the resources and support to empower themselves during their transition to adulthood.
A social enterprise working to expand access to solar power in Nicaragua.
It's not easy being a girl in a community where girls are considered worthless, but unlike most girls, I was taught to be strong.
This is such a golden opportunity. I'm so happy.
We're so inspired with all the work that these amazing young people are doing.
I actually was in Washington, D.C. this weekend. I was at the Clinton Global Initiative University. It was an incredibly impressive group of young people.
I am relying on you guys to get us through the future because I am going to be of no help whatsoever.
I think I should spend the rest of my life trying to give other people the same set of life chances that I had.
Be grateful for the opportunities you've had, and then go and work with those who don't have your opportunities to create the future you want to live in.
Be consistent and be persistent, and never ever give up. Never become bitter or hostile, and never hate, for hate is too heavy a burden to bear.
Find something you care deeply about, that you're excited about, and be active.
Look, this isn't a question of what can you do. Folks, we're depending on you.
Changing the world for the better isn't just someone else's business. It's really up to all of us.
Your ability to meet the challenges that you will face is greater collectively and individually than at any time in human history.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice Chair, the Clinton Foundation, Chelsea Clinton.
Hello, everyone. Well, thank you for that enthusiastic welcome as I transition from one microphone to the other. I'm just so excited to be here with all of you. This is one of my most favorite weekends of the year. I can't wait to hear about your commitments and all the work that you've done in advance of being here with us, and all the work that you hope to do over the next few days to help you do work that may motivate and inform the rest of your lives. Before we formally begin, I especially want to thank President Zimmer and everyone at the University of Chicago who has made this weekend possible. I mean, you can absolutely applaud for your school and for our hosts. I know a tremendous amount of work goes into an event like this one, and so I know that when we hear from President Zimmer later, he's really representing the faculty, the administration, the staff, the catering staff, everyone who's going to ensure that we have a terrific, productive, and a fun time this weekend. I want to particularly recognize Tandem Rustandi, who played a critical role in bringing us here this weekend, and who launched the Rustandi Center for Social Sector Innovation to support students at this university, and also alumni and faculty who are committed to tackling complex social and environmental challenges. We're really proud to be in partnership with the University of Chicago, in large part because of its long-standing commitment to engaging its students and its community in public service. The Harris School of Public Policy and the University Community please, this is it. This is, yes. Interrupt with applause. as often as you'd like, particularly when you're applauding each other and our hosts this weekend. But the University Community Service Center is heavily involved with student outreach efforts and has been just such a tremendous partner to our CGI University network. And I'm particularly grateful on a personal note to the University of Chicago's TMW Center for Early Learning and Public Health and their 30 Million Words initiative. Their founder and co-director, Dr. Dana Susskind, is someone that I have long looked up to and admired for her pioneering work in early childhood education, and I am so proud to serve on the advisory board of the Clinton Foundation's Too Small to Fail initiative. So just on a personal note, it's really fun for me to be in kind of Dr. Suskind's hometown and home university. I thought it would be fitting this evening to start with a couple of commitments from the University of Chicago. And again, this is participatory, so applaud as much as you like. The first comes from James Lott. Yes, even individual applause is fantastic. Michael Shu and Mariam Safedin, who are working to combat the opioid epidemic by building an online platform for safely, discreetly, and privately exchanging needles and providing access to the life-saving antidote naloxone. So that definitely deserves a round of applause. Thank you. The second is from Josh Aronson and Leah Shapiro, who've committed to teaching after-school debate classes to build confidence and develop critical thinking and communication skills to elementary and middle school students right here in Chicago. Thank you. And those are just two of the hundreds of inspiring commitments that you have brought with you here this weekend. This year, we have about 1,100 students from more than 100 countries, representing more than 300 colleges and universities, which is just extraordinary. And while different commitments may have motivated you to apply to CGIU and to be kind of sitting here today, you all have one big thing in common, and that's the desire to make the world a better place. You all refuse to accept the status quo, and that's definitely the camp that I want to be in, because clearly all of us here believe that the world can and should be safer, healthier, better educated, more equitable, and so much more. And it's not only kind of all of you here today with your commitments, you're really building on the work of previous CGIU students, and I hope that you'll really get to know your mentors over the weekend because so many of them are CGIU alums. So, oh yes, shout out for our CGIU mentors. This is great. I want to take this audience with me everywhere. So in addition to the commitments mentioned previously, here's just sort of a brief overview of some of what's brought you here to spend this time with all of us together. So you're committing to provide mental health services to people impacted by gun violence. You're committed to connecting LGBTQ people who face persecution under repressive regimes around the world with supportive services here in the United States. You're developing sustainable solutions for heating and cooling in refugee camps in Greece and elsewhere. You've committed to helping farmers in California maximize their crop production while minimizing their farm's ecological impact. You've created mentorship programs around the world, including one to help young entrepreneurs in Uganda. You're implementing comprehensive reproductive health education for women in Vietnam. And really what you're doing is you're providing so many reasons to be optimistic because you're dedicating your talents, your energies, and your time to building a better future for all of us. And as we see what I find a disturbing pendulum swing toward a rising acceptance, mainstreaming, and mainlining of hate around the world, including here in the United States, your work affirms that everyone everywhere deserves to have a chance to build a healthy life for themselves, their families, and to help be part of and to be central to the future that they want to have and that they deserve. So I think it's always crucial that we're engaged every day in that work, but I think it's particularly crucial that we're engaged in that work now. You know, here in the United States, it's an election year, and so there's a lot of attention being paid to how important it is to vote on election day. And I'd be the first person to say it absolutely is. But we are citizens. We are citizens 365 days a year and 366 days in a leap year, right? We're not just citizens in what, oh, thanks for laughing at my joke. We're not just citizens when we have an election to vote in whatever country we come from. And we're no less citizens if we live in places that don't have free and fair elections. And similarly, the work of CGIU doesn't end kind of after the day of action on Sunday. The work very much continues. And so I hope that you will take everyone up on their offers this weekend to help you, because they mean it, but they may forget if you don't follow up. So take every yes as actually a yes to stay engaged and to support you in helping to continue to translate your commitments to have maximum impact. I hope that you'll also stay in touch with us at the Clinton Foundation and let us know how we can help you drive your work forward when you go back to your college or university and as you go out kind of into the broader world. I want to close by sharing something I think about multiple times a day these days, which is something that my friend and someone I really look up to, Dr. Jim Kim, who is one of the original founders of Partners in Health and now is the head of the World Bank, once said, that optimism is a moral choice. I certainly get up every day and make the moral choice to be optimistic. And I know that all of you do too, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. And all of you help give me the faith to get up tomorrow and again choose to be optimistic. So thank you for that. And thank you for kind of being here and being part of the CGIU community. I hope that you will also talk about your work and your commitments kind of on your social platforms. Use the hashtag, hashtag CGIU 2018, because hopefully you'll be able to find other people out in the world kind of from the broader CGIU community and beyond who also want to engage and help you in your work. So someone who also gives me a great dose of daily optimism and who I am unabashedly proud of is the founder of CGIU, and I think it's only appropriate that I now welcome my father, the 42nd President of the United States, Bill Clinton, to the stage. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. First, welcome to all of you from all over the United States and all around the world. I want to begin with a couple of thank yous. First, I want to thank Chelsea for her constant devotion to CGIU from the beginning, and for the work she does to lift the voices and the recognition of children, especially young girls and young women, with her books as well as with her voice. I want to thank our sponsors and individuals and organizations who are making this meeting possible. Boeing, Kevin Shue, the Chicago Community Trust, Pepsi, and a special thank you to the Pete Peterson Foundation and their Up to Us program. I thank members of the CGIU network, colleges and universities that provide the funding for students to participate in this meeting and at least to begin implementing their commitments. I thank the volunteers who are giving their time and energy. None of this would be possible without them. So let's give them a big hand. Finally, I want to thank the University of Chicago, President Robert Zimmer, Provost Daniel Demeyer, Darren Reisberg, and everyone at the university who's hosting us, students, faculty, staff, from the classrooms to the dining halls. And as Chelsea already mentioned, I thank the Lawndale Center for Social Sector Innovation for their special support. Now, Chelsea set the stage. Yeah, clap for them all. That's good. Chelsea set the stage for why we're here and why your work is so important. I just want to add a few words before we get into the first panel, which I believe will be fascinating to all of us. 19 years ago, in June of 1999, I was the commencement address speaker here. And it was just one day after the official hostilities ended in Kosovo, bringing to a close the bloody ethnic cleansing that had killed 12,000 people and displaced more than 1 million Kosovars. I told the students that what happened in Kosovo was symptomatic of the great paradox of the world they, and alas, you, are moving into. That for all the blessings of our rapidly modernizing, globalized society, our biggest problem remained our oldest one. Hatred, fear, distrust, misunderstanding of people who are different from us. Little did I know that 19 years ago, I could have been giving the same speech tonight, and that the problem had spread. Not a single country, including our own, is free of it. Today, this giant wave has been explained in many ways. I'll leave it to you to find out and determine what you believe about what caused it. But people clearly are uncertain about who they are and how they fit into the present and the future beyond their own crowd. And one of the things that is most disturbing about this new separatist tribalism is that there seems to be an assumption that every endeavor in life has become a zero-sum game. That is, in order for you to win, somebody else has to lose, or at least they have to be seen to lose. That means a lot to all of you, to your communities, your nations, to the future of the world. It means that people think their tribe is not only more important than everyone else's, however they define that tribe, by race, religion, ethnicity, sexual identity, place of birth, political party, or whatever, but anything that gives you a uniquely shared perspective with others in your tribe. Is it really true that that cannot strengthen us unless you vanquish others? Or do diverse networks of cooperation make better decisions, empower more people, reverse abuses more quickly, and pave a way to a better future? One of the reasons I love CGIU is it's an example of how I think the world ought to work, even though it may be on the downside now, which I call inclusive tribalism. First of all, you come from every conceivable social category of difference except age. You're more or less the same age. Presumably, among the many tribes to which you belong include the schools which you attend, and you're proud of them. Presumably, there are other parts of your identity that make you unique and of which you are proud. But when you come here to meet and talk, you are reaffirming what I believe is the basic premise of an interdependent world. Our differences make life more interesting, and diverse groups make far better decisions than homogeneous ones, something we forget at our peril. But what makes it all possible is our common humanity. I say this at every CGIU. I had the great honor to be president when I spent $3 billion of the American people's tax money to finish the sequencing, the first print of the human genome. You can get yours. You can get yours for considerably less than $3 billion a day. What it showed that every non-scientist should appreciate is that we are all, give or take, 99.5% the same. That every single difference you can see in this room, alas, except those that are age-related, but every other one, including gender, the color of your skin, your eyes, the shape of your body, how tall or short you are, it's all lodged in about 0.5% of your genome. It seems to me that both the science and the experience of societies over the last several decades argued not for exclusive tribalism, but for inclusive tribalism. No one should want you to give up your tribes. We need to put each other in boxes. We need to put ourselves in boxes just to get up and navigate the day. But whether your tribalism is an expansive, inclusive one that enables you to get rid of old barriers when they no longer work or when they're standing in your way, and expand the definition of us, shrinking the definition of them, or is, as is so often the case today, working in reverse, will determine the life you and your children and your children's children will have on this planet. The commitments to action you've made show that creative cooperation makes virtually any problem either solvable or at least more manageable. From climate change to economic inequities to health problems, and to the oldest and biggest one I have mentioned. Inclusive problem solving requires inclusive tribalism and a rejection of exclusive, non-inclusive tribalism. So, that's what I think this weekend is about, and what I think a lot of your future will be about. That kind of problem solving happens every day on the campus of the University of Chicago. So before we get to the plenary, I want to invite our host to the stage, a great mathematician and a fine university president, the president of the University of Chicago, Robert Zimmer.
Well, thank you very much, President Clinton. Good evening. I'm very pleased to add my welcome to all of you to the 11th Clinton Global Initiative University, the first to be held here on the University of Chicago campus. On behalf of the University of Chicago, I'd like to extend my thanks to President Clinton, Chelsea Clinton, and the Clinton Global Initiative for having this important event here on our campus. I would also like to acknowledge Chicago Booth School alumnus Tandy and Rostandi, whose generous support has made this weekend possible. Additionally, I would like to thank all of you for attending and for your commitment to public and community service. This meeting affords an exciting opportunity not only to share perspectives and generate ideas, but also to think about how to translate these ideas into concrete, meaningful, and impactful contributions. The theme for this evening's plenary is expanding civic engagement. Connecting the University of Chicago's academic work, our education, and our research to the broader needs of society has long been a priority for us, and civic engagement is something we've placed a particular emphasis on during the last decade, both at the institutional and individual level. One particular focus for us has been programs designed to build capacity in city communities. Examples are the Civic Leadership Academy, which prepares individuals, emerging leaders, who work in nonprofit organizations and local government agencies. The Community Programs Accelerator, which is an incubator for new nonprofit organizations whose work benefits local neighborhoods. UChicago Local, which through the targeting of our own economic activity supports local businesses, vendors, and job seekers. And the Rustandi Center for Social Sector Innovation, which catalyzes new organizations committed to social impact. Another important emphasis for us has been extensive work in neighborhood schools. In particular, each year, about 500 University of Chicago students work to support the local schools. This program is now in its 42nd year. In addition, we have deep partnerships with city agencies and community organizations to address major societal issues such as education, violence prevention, health, environmental sustainability, and poverty. The work of the Clinton Global Initiative, the personal commitment demonstrated by the students who are here today, the University of Chicago work and civic engagement all have one thing in common: a realization that improving our society and the lives and opportunities of all the individuals in it is an obligation that we must all recognize and a task that we must all take on. The human costs and the societal costs are too high, and while there are deep and difficult problems, we must continue to work even harder at them. One context for this commitment and personal and institutional engagement is, of course, that it needs to be effective. How does one know what is effective and what is not? How does one know what the best policies are? What are the most effective actions? And what approaches are easily scalable? These are not questions for which an answer can be given by wishing or hoping. One needs to try things, to experiment, and to implement new ideas. But then one needs the intellectual and sometimes emotional fortitude to rigorously examine what we have learned by our efforts and experiments, and to analyze what works under what circumstances and what may not work under others. There are a myriad of questions to think about and analyze in addition to the imaginative exploration that you are undertaking now. This is also what a university needs to do. And it is an example of why open discourse, intellectual challenge, and free expression is so important to the work of all universities. It is the irreplaceable activity that leads to an in-depth understanding of issues and therefore informed decision-making in a complex world. So just as you are taking important steps this weekend in thinking about your own project and in learning about the projects of your fellow participants, I urge you to take the full courageous leap of open argument, free expression, and intellectual challenge by fully embracing the idea that clarity and progress derive from an engagement of other ideas and other perspectives, and not by everyone comfortably having the same viewpoint, being in the same exclusive tribe. Your individual and collective capacity to effectively drive and implement the change you seek will be all the much greater. So again, I commend you on your commitment to public and community service, and I encourage you to make the most of this unique and extraordinary opportunity that the Clinton Global Initiative is giving you. Congratulations to you all, and enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Now, the rest of the program is more or less yours. Because commitments to action are at the heart of CGIU, and because we work very hard to help people who ask for it to develop or refine and keep these commitments, I want to call some of the past commitment makers to the stage to set the stage for the panel that follows. They're going to give us progress reports in what we call a lightning round. So, your turn, guys. Come on up.
Hello, my name is Harsh Engineer, and I'm from Northeastern University. My partners and I started YU to continue addressing some of the conditions faced by the refugees in the Greek islands. As a result of 2016 agreement with the European Union, several Greek islands have become processing centers for migrants arriving by sea to Europe. Refugee camps on the islands are built to house 2,000 people each, but increasing arrivals have pushed that number to 6,000. Refugees in these camps face challenges of finding work, seeking asylum, staying safe from sexual violence and human trafficking, and also enduring periods of separation from family members. My partner, Alexandra, developed mental health training materials and a curriculum for patients regarding various therapies and coping mechanisms. She encouraged women to seek care through awareness raising and helped aid workers in processing psychological disorders and making treatment referrals. YU will now be known as RU, meaning Spirit, Life, and Wind. RU seeks to help these refugees cope with harsh climate changes by producing a solar-powered household fan that can both cool and heat. It is inexpensive, portable, does not produce greenhouse gas emissions, and can decrease conventional power usage by 80%. We will install our first fans in refugee camps on the island of Lesbos, Greece. But then we will expand to regions in Lebanon, Jordan, and India. While a fan cannot address many of the hardships that these refugees face, but it is health and quality of life improvement that we can make while simultaneously helping the environment and lowering energy costs. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deja Powell from Cornell University. And my partners and I started HEAL to address the problem of healthy food access and poor school quality in many Black and brown communities here in Chicago. In Chicago, 22 communities qualify as food deserts, meaning they do not have easy access to healthy, fresh, and affordable produce. Additionally, youth in many of these areas have been routinely starved of educational resources as public money is increasingly and disproportionately spent on charter schools and public schools in white middle-class communities. Through HEAL, we have developed garden clubs through which students grow produce and learn about social justice, food accessibility, health, crime, problem solving, and activism. Students meet throughout the year and keep journals, read broadly, and share stories, engaging each other on creating a vision of a new Chicago that works for us all. In 2016, we partnered with the Chicago elementary school that I attended to create a school garden and have been growing 2 seasons with the students there. And funding through a public service award will allow us to continue and grow HEAL in the coming years. We have also launched a summer camp here on campus at the University of Chicago, where 14 youth engaged in programs and topics around environmental justice, environmental science, and climate change. Taking a holistic approach, HEAL is rooted in the concept of consciousness raising to offer youth the knowledge that will inspire them to become engaged citizens in this society. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Collins Kalyebi from Wartburg College in Iowa. My partners and I started Enterprise Young to address the pervasive unemployment in sub-Saharan Africa. The unemployment and vulnerable employment estimates there are as high as 70%. It is particularly bleak for the young people in this region. Enterprise Young pairs young entrepreneurs with mentors that help them find the support and resources that they need to make their ideas marketable. Our network includes over 120 entrepreneurs and over 300 mentors. Our 5-week summer programs take young people through the process of refining their ideas, designing a business plan, and modeling a financial structure. And by the end of every program, entrepreneurs are ready to attract capital and start establishing their ventures. Participants in these programs also get the opportunity to pitch their ideas to a network of over 550 funders through the Launchpad, an event designed to connect young entrepreneurs to local funders. We have a program in East Africa, and we have over 65 students now enrolled, and we are hoping to grow that to 300. We are also seeking to increase the number of participants that are involved in our programs and the number of communities in which these programs are offered. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yağmur Ünal from New York University in Abu Dhabi. Thank you. My partner and I started Bedaya to address some of the physical and emotional difficulties experienced by the migrant workers in the United Arab Emirates. While migrant workers comprise only 3% of the global population, they represent 88% of the population in the United Arab Emirates. Conditions for migrant workers in the UAE are harsh, and a recently enacted migrant workers' rights law often goes unobserved by the employers. Migrant workers have high stress levels as a result of long working hours and minimal recreation, exercise, and socializing opportunities. Bedaya, or the beginning in Arabic, seeks to help by promoting the well-being of female migrant workers through play, team building, mindfulness practices, and exercise. Our program integrates female migrant workers with the students at NYU Abu Dhabi. Gatherings takes place in a space that is inclusive, respectful of cross-cultural differences, and safe from discrimination. Semester-long curricula focus on improving strength, endurance, flexibility through exercise, the learning of a choice of a sports taught by professional trainers, emotional support through group conversations, and improving stress management techniques through mindfulness practices. Bedaya seeks to reduce some of the stress and the sense of isolation migrant workers experience as a result of their living conditions. Over the past year, we have increased the number of program facilitators by 40% and the program participants by 50%. This past January, Bedaya has officially become a university initiative.
Hi everyone, my name is Akshay Kamath and I'm from Rutgers University. My partners and I have started Nutrifire to address the global problem of child malnutrition. Malnutrition contributes to nearly half of all deaths in children under 5 around the world. Suboptimal breastfeeding and low-quality foods also put children at an increased risk of serious illnesses, stunted growth, and impaired cognitive ability. We have begun outreach in New Brunswick, New Jersey, with plans to start operations in South Africa. Nutrifire will target HIV-infected mothers, as they are least likely to breastfeed their infants. In South Africa, only 25% of infants are exclusively breastfed, and 53% are fed a mix of breast milk and formula. Largely as a result of fears of HIV transmission, mothers introduce babies to food with a low nutritional value and questionable safety. Nutrifire has developed a silicone pacifier device that stores and delivers nutrients such as iron and zinc to infants. Now, the device will ensure that babies are receiving a consistently adequate micronutrient dosage. Our current 3D printed prototype has been undergoing continual refinement, and we are almost ready to launch. Going forward, we will partner with health organizations, seek additional funding, and establish means of distribution to expand production capacity and global reach. Thank you.
Give him another hand. I'll take it. Now our panelists will be introduced.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our panelists. Executive Director, Dream Big Nevada, Astrid Silva. Executive Director, Peace Warrior Organization at North Lawndale College Prep, D'Angelo McDade. Executive Director, Women's Peace Network, Weiwei Nu. UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, Muzoon Almellehan. And our moderator, President Clinton.
Now, if I don't mess this up, this will be a real treat for you. And I think a real inspiration to you and to your own efforts. Each in their own way, these 4 young people live every waking hour as a rebuke to the separatist tribalism that is supposed to be the way the world is trending. They have done it at varying degrees of risk to themselves, their education, and their future. They have done it with a passion that has inspired loyalty and support and already produced results. So I just want the most important thing is for me not to get in their way. So I'll try to ask intelligent questions, but the main thing you need to know is I want every one of you to say, no matter what I ask you, what you want them to know about what you do, what help you need, and what they should do. And Muzoon, I want to start with you. Muzoon is the Goodwill Ambassador for UNICEF now because she fled Syria with her family in the middle of the night when she was 14, and the only belongings she took with her were her school books. There are now 27 million children who are out of school in conflict zones. 27 million. The Jordanians and the Lebanese. They have made heroic efforts to house Syrian children and give them schooling. She spent 3 years in a refugee camp in Jordan, enrolled in camp school, and she saw a lot of girls dropping out, getting married, believing they had no other future. So she went from tent to tent, speaking with parents about the value of education, the risk of early marriage, and pleading with people to send their children back to school, for which she has received worldwide notice. And lots of people, A, want to do what she did, and B, want to know how to make it work. So, first, how'd you work up the courage to do this? Second, is it working? And third, would it work as well in the places, let's take Jordan, in the places in Jordan where the refugees are integrated into their communities and not in separate camps, for example, just for example.
First of all, good evening, everyone. I'm so proud to be here for the second time, actually, to speak in the CGI event. Basically, I lived in refugee camps, and of course, I had many challenges, but I didn't actually let those challenges to overcome me or to be stronger than me. I told myself to do something and to start to encourage other children to believe in themselves and just to fight for their rights, especially their right of education, because I believe in a place like a camp or anywhere in the world, if we don't have education, we cannot do anything in our lives. So I was encouraging them to get education at the first level. And of course, I had many challenges to convince people, because it is not an easy thing to do, to go and to speak to people in the camp and to tell them about the importance of education. At that time, they felt they are hopeless about the future, especially after they have gone through a very difficult situation and they had to flee Syria because the war there, and when they lived in the camps in a place where it is completely different. But I told myself I have to face these challenges and to tell them about the importance of education, because I believe if I don't speak or no one will speak, then we cannot make a change in the society. That's how I use my voice. Of course, I had many negative feedbacks from people. For example, some of them, they said it is not my business to tell them about education, or they know the best for their children. For example, some of them, they said marriage is the best solution for our daughters, and some of the girls, they said it is better to get married instead of going to school. But to be honest, that was a sad thing to hear, but at the same time, it was a strong motivation to me, because I believed if I will give up, I cannot continue to make a strong generation. So I must be strong. And when I started, I knew that people maybe don't hear my voice, but I have to believe in my voice. And that's how I'm still standing and I'm still fighting for them, because I strongly believe education is the only solution to rebuild my country and to help so many children in the world.
This message and her willingness to deliver it would be important in any age and time, but is especially important now because we have the largest number of migrant and refugee children and their parents since World War II. And it's real, we can't afford to lose any kids out of the places that can provide education. Remember, 27 million are still out of school. In Lebanon, they doubled the school population just with refugees, but there were the same pressures. And in Jordan, they tried to reduce the pressure of prejudice by having both camps and people spread into the villages. But still this happens, and the parents, keep in mind, they often feel uprooted. So the easiest thing to do is to say, well, we'll try to preserve our culture, our beliefs, so marry the girls off. They tell you that, don't they? So thank you. Wait. You are from Myanmar, Burma. You and your family are Rohingya. One of many ethnic minorities in your country, but by far the most persecuted. There are the conflicts between Muslims and Buddhists, the conflicts unique to the region from which you come. Over 500,000 Rohingya have already fled to neighboring Bangladesh. Yet, you have founded a peace network, Arakan, the region from which you come, to try to have empowerment training, to promote leadership, to provide a space from young people from different groups to build trust, friendship, and understanding. Is it working?
Thank you. Yes, it is very, very difficult time for us as a community in Burma and as a nation itself. Sometimes it is even hard to continue what you believe in, but yet I believe we have to continue work on what we believe in to bring peace and change in the country. So when I start my work, when I start my activism, when I start empower youth, it was 5 years ago. It wasn't really. It was. We have been seeing a lot of people lives lost, and many more than 100,000 people become IDPs, and many thousands of people had to flee from the country, become refugees in different parts of the world, and having really, really hard time. Even then, I started with the hope that if we start asking questions, why this is happening, why this has happened, how can we change this? I realized one of the main reasons, which is prejudice, which is in fact prejudices, misunderstanding, and hate among each other. I mean, the hate that's created from all these factors, which one of that is actually prejudice and divide and rule practices, and basically not being able to get connection or space for among the people to be in touch or to have dialogue. So I thought I should create an environment that people, especially young people, where I believe young people can shape our future as we are living in this war for our whole life. So I believe in the young people. I have hope in the young people. So I thought I should bring young people together to really just be together and learn something which is neutral. Basically, if they have chance to be together, they can have a chance to really build mutual understanding, or really build at least some understanding, and eventually we can build trust and peace in the country. But yet, as you said, is it working? It's not yet, because the work that we can do, the effort that we can actually provide to the society is still very, very small because of the many challenges and barriers and many I mean, basically not having enough space as a person from minorities, or as as a person or as people we believe for the justice. I mean, it is mainly because the factor that we are fighting is so big than what we can really contribute to the society. So, and it's not really working. The factor that we are fighting for is really big. What I mean by that is the institution which create this hate, the institution which is creating this conflict and which bring injustice and driving people out, which is basically it's much bigger than what we can really tackle. So at this point, in the current situations in the country, we need all of your support, and we need all of us to be doing more and more as much as we can. I think this is the time that we all have to be together in solidarity and support each other, whether we are from Burma, in Burma, or whether you are in the United States or in America. Thank you.
You heard our previous speaker say she had been criticized for what she had done. Have you actually been threatened for what you're doing?
Yes. So the reason that I said the effort that we can make in this critical moment is small, because we have so many factors that threaten or that challenge our effort. Basically, security. When we do this kind of work, we cannot really do like the scale that we want to do, due to the threat and security that we receive from the authorities. And also, we have many other problems, like, living in a third world country, in a developing country, we need so many resources, and even the mobilizations around the community. So there are so many things that we have actually face barriers. One of the main factors that we cannot scale up, or we cannot make bigger impact that we want, is due to the security. I have received many visitors from the authority in my office several times, and we have been questioned again and again. And beyond that, I have been actually threatened on the online social media several times by unknown people, unknown users. So it is sometimes I even face like life-threatening and really abusive comments and messages to my private messenger and message boxes. There are so many things that I have faced, but I think there is always challenges we will face if our voices are the minority voices, if we are from the minority community, or if we are fighting against the majority opinion. We will face so many threats and challenges, yet we have to move forward.
Thank you. If you have any interest in this, I urge you to read about the situation there. The Rohingya may be the most battered minority group in the world today. They're called very disparaging terms. The implication by those who oppress them is that they're not really Burmese, they're not really part of the country, and the only remedy is to get them out. They also face, under the guise of ethnic prejudice, people who just want to steal their land. And it's dangerous what she's doing, because the military, while they have given nominal control of the country over to an elected government, still basically controls the country. And even the reformers, the would-be reformers in the elected government, are afraid to go against the military for fear that that the Buddhist majority will lose their democracy. It's a mess. And she's probably right. The only way you can begin to change it is to talk to people one-on-one. But you need to understand that she is every single breath she takes when she does this, and every person who thinks she's right on the other side, they're taking risks that most of you will never have to live with. So I thank you. Astrid Silva came here at the age of 4, an undocumented immigrant with her mother, crossing a river to join her father in the United States. She is now the executive director of Dream Big Nevada. At a time when this is not allegedly a popular cause in the United States. But the truth is, there are more people with you than against you. We just don't have any power now. Tell us about some of the challenges you're facing to keep DACA. The non-Americans here, DACA was an order issued by President Obama to try to make sure that people who were brought here as children, as she was, could not be deported for being undocumented, and to help them stay in college and build a life here. And many of the anti-immigrant people would like to get rid of it and send people home. So she's trying to stop it, and she wants to protect as many people as she can. So how do you make this important with every new day? We got a new headline, mothers and families and children being separated at the border. Now there are a couple of thousand people coming toward the Rio Grande River, and our government induced the Mexican government to head them off, even though the non-Americans should know this too. Anybody that shows up at the border who comes from a country dominated by drug violence is under American law entitled to enter this country if they can show that they have a reasonable fear for their safety or the safety of their children. That is the law. So, as the Mexican-American mayor of one of our towns in South Texas said the other day, we do not have an immigration crisis. Almost no Mexicans are trying to come to America anymore, but these people from Central America are, and we do what borders are supposed to do. If they're just having economic distress back home, we can't let them ahead of other people who have economic distress. But if they have a reasonable fear for their own safety or the safety of their children, they're entitled to be here. So now our government's making a move to keep them from getting to the border, to exercise a legal right enshrined by an act of Congress signed by, not by me, by my successor, George W. Bush. And I support it. It's the right law. So she's up against a lot. So how do you to protect the kids that are here, keep DACA front and center? Tell them just basically what you're doing.
Thank you. One of I think the biggest things is to remind people that immigration is a very broad and complex issue. It deals with the children, it deals with people that are in my situation, DACA. It's my parents who, just by me saying that my mom brought me here, that puts her in a position of smuggling a child. These are the things that our families are facing, and so it's reminding people that it's not just a very simple fix. You know, actually this week, I just received my final DACA renewal. So DACA gives me a work permit, and I just received it this week because of the courts. And I think one of the things is reminding people that because of the courts, we are fighting this legal battle right now. But there's so many different convoluted situations happening. The children that are at the border, separated from their parents, when this was never the intention of parents. You know, I've talked to these parents, and some of them, they didn't realize that by coming here, they'd be separated from their children because their fear, in their countries is much greater than the fear of what would happen in a country where they don't speak the language, in a country where, they don't know anybody. And for me, the most important thing that I have to remind people is, this was me. I came here when I was 4. I learned English, and a lot of people tell me, you speak English so well, and that should just make you a citizen. It's so much more than that, it's so much more than just being able to speak the language. It's so much more. It's a humanity, and people see the United States as a beacon of hope, and many of the people here, as President mentioned, aren't from the United States, and we look to this country as that wonderful, hope and what we have here. And a lot of times these families don't understand that by coming here, it really is a very a fearful situation. And so it's reminding people, it's letting them know that just because I have DACA doesn't mean I can become a citizen. Just because, my brother is a citizen doesn't mean he can petition for my parents. It's reminding people constantly, and it is draining. It's very draining because you have to expose yourself. You have to be vulnerable to people who, as Weiwei said, who then come out and either threaten you or they, say horrible things about it. So there's a lot in every single day reminding people that this is what's happening to our families.
I was just talking to 2 women who live in the same little town I do. We stopped at the bookstore together 2 days ago. And they said that the caretaker of their synagogue, who has been in America for more than 30 years and is from Mexico, was having dinner with his wife at a restaurant. 2 guys get in a fight at a bar. They don't have anything to do with it. They're sitting there having dinner at a restaurant. The police come, break up the bar fight, and look around, and just decide to take everybody to the police station and check their identity. And he had never spent a night away from his wife in 25 years of marriage. And they were going to send him home to Mexico. Then the people from the synagogue went down. They did send him home to Mexico. He hadn't been there in 35 years. They got him back in a detention center where they can appeal his case. But this is obsession, and it's in the United States. If you're an American, you need to know this. Basically, we've had women and men who were victimized by crimes from undocumented immigrants spread all over America, publicized. But the crime rate among all immigrants, including the undocumented, is considerably lower than the crime rate of the native-born Americans. And however, the small business formation rate of immigrants, including the undocumented, is twice that of native-born Americans. And the irony is the United States, the replacement rate among native-born Americans of all ethnic groups is barely at the fertility rate. I mean, it's barely at a replacement levels. So we can't grow the population unless all of you decide to have, you who are Americans, a lot more kids than other people have, or we take immigrants. This whole thing is made up essentially to fill this emotional chasm created when we think our differences matter more. The real immigration issues in America are much more mundane. All these people in Central America have to be interviewed to see if they have a reasonable fear of danger. Because if they don't, it would be unfair to let them get ahead of other people who are fleeing economic distress in other troubled countries of the world and trying to get through our system. So I think we owe you a big favor, and a big thanks for what you're doing. Now, D'Angelo McDade has become almost like a cult figure in America in the last few months. He's the executive director of the Peace Warrior organization. Last year, when he was 17, his grandfather and cousin were shot by bullets while they were sitting on the front porch. The bullets were meant here in Chicago. The bullets were meant to hit other people, but they hit his grandfather and his brother. He is, therefore, a survivor and a victim, and he hopes now a victor in the gun violence struggle. Not very long ago, he flew down to Florida to meet with the young Parkland students of Stoneman Douglas High School. And he formed an interesting partnership with them. And I will give them this. They, along with those who support them, including the Mothers of the Movement and many others, have for the first time made this gun safety issue a voting issue. Have for the first time given us a chance to actually get support for people if they're willing to vote to ban assault weapons and ammunition clips. And what he has done, because he lives in Chicago, is to remind people that that is nowhere near the only issue. That the people in these neighborhoods need all kinds of support to build productive lives, non-criminal lives, and safe lives. So first, I just want to thank you because but I want you to explain what you're actually doing to try to get other people involved and deal with this. And you should all know that Chicago gets a lot of publicity for having a high crime rate, high murder rate, but it's almost all confined to 10% of the wards here. Wards like the ones where his grandfather was shot. And he is trying to figure out how to turn it around. And he knows you can't just police your way out of it, can you? So tell them what you're doing and why, and who's helping you, and what your problems are.
In 2009, Tiffany Childress-Price, who was a science teacher, chemistry teacher at North Lawndale College Prep, founded the Peace Warrior in-school club. Less than a year ago, she challenged me to take it to the next level. As being an 18-year-old from the west side of Chicago, surviving is the only goal that I had. Having a mother that said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, I refuse to settle. There are other students such as myself that are just like me, that are willing to go out and achieve, seeking revitalization within gun reform, within our schools, within our homes, even within our own communities and societies. As executive director of the Peace Warrior organization at North Lawndale College Prep, it became my goal to challenge our students to get out of the mindset of being a minority, but understand that you have been minoritized and that you are a priority. At North Lawndale College Prep, we pride ourselves on building transformational leaders. And you see 4 of them sitting in front of you. You see some sitting very next to you. However, we sometimes forget that the biggest form of violence is hopelessness. It's when we decide that we can't get up, that when we've been broken and battered, that we can't be mended. Our students, the Peace Warriors, decided to take on that challenge, to seek nonviolence reconciliation, to fight against gun reform, to tackle policies that are unjust, and to understand that racism is more than just judging a book by its cover or by its skin tone, but saying that racism is also racial injustice, but also economic injustice. Here at the Peace Warrior organization at North Lawndale College Prep, we've hired 1,129 student employees across the city of Chicago to tackle and to reform gun violence, to tackle the ideal of insensitive cultures within our schools, to tackle unjust economic policies. And these students are willing, they're eager, because they understand, like I understand, that we are being oppressed. We are now being victimized. And how do we get out of that mindset? We reform that mindset. See, as young people, we love to set trends. So why not set the trend of, I'm better than what other people have already said that I was? While sitting on my very own front porch, I was shot too. And I still have a portion of my bullet remaining in me. Did I let that stop me? No. Because I understood that society needs me more than I need society. We set what society is. We create our societies. Why not create a society that is equitable within education, economic, and that has a sense of humanity? Within restorative justice efforts, within reforming our schools, within loving our peers, our counterparts, as if we are one giant family. And this is one thing that I want you to understand about the Peace Warriors. They believe that nonviolence is the way of life for courageous people, and that is where we stand.
How do you relate in the neighborhoods where you work to the local police?
Say that one more time.
How do you relate to the local police in the neighborhoods where you work?
So very often, we don't criticize our officers. We invite them to go through the training. These young peace warriors go through 40 hours of training to go out into their communities and tackle injustice. We understand that, one, our police are created to protect and to serve. And how can you protect and serve and not understand who you are serving? So now we let our officers know that this is one community, this is one beloved community, this is one family, and we can work together. For years, we have been fighting against each other, for years. So now it's time for us to mend our broken hearts, mend our broken relationships, and build a connection that is inevitable as the walks of life. And that is where we are.
This is really important. It's very frustrating to me because you can't run a city without a good police force, and you can't have one that's tolerated if every headline is about some unarmed civilian being shot or killed. It doesn't mean you don't need the police. And what I like about what they're doing is they basically bring the police into their world and train them to deal with it. And I predict there will be a rather dramatic reduction in unjustifiable violence, and that will help lower the crime rate. You cannot police your way out of this. The people have to do this. This is great. All right, I got some more questions I want to ask, but I want to go to the crowd here. Maria asked, what do you think the most important skills that every young leader should have now and 10 years from now? Who wants to go first? What's the most important skill that allows you to do what you do?
To be honest, to be confident and to believe in yourself. Once you believe in yourself and you believe that you have to do something in your society or even globally, you can achieve it because we all have skills and we all actually able to do things. So once we believe we can do those things, we can achieve them, but we have to work hard and to get more knowledge as much as we can get knowledge, because without knowledge we cannot achieve it. So we have to be determined and to never give up, just to fight as much as we can for our rights and keep standing and keep believing one day, even if we have a lot of challenges, even if we have a very tough life, we shouldn't consider these challenges are stronger than us. We have to overcome those challenges and to prove even in tough times we can create remarkable things.
Good.
That is awesome, Muzoon. I just want to add, I think the skill that I feel like important to me is listening. We need to listen as much as we can. What is happening next to us? What is happening in our neighbor? What is happening in our society? And what is happening really person next to you. So listening and what they have to say. Listening is the most important skill that I should have so that I understand the situation better. They understand my friends better. I understand people who might be my enemy. So then you know how to respond. So that's I think one of the most important skill. Secondly, I think being able to know, being able to understand actually how do you really work with people who doesn't like you or who doesn't want you. How do you really exist in a society there, in a society who doesn't really see you as a human being or as a person, or who doesn't want you. So I think if I echo her comment, I think it's basically having confidence and believing in yourself, and always reminding yourself as we're a human being, and all human beings are by nature equal and free, born to be equal and free. And I see every human being, regardless of their status, regardless of their wealth, regardless of their education, so regardless of their number, I see each and individual as equal human being as me, and treat them with dignity, the way I want to be treated. I treat them regardless of they're my friends or enemy. I treat them as the way I want to be treated. And I think this is a skill that you can overcome from your fear, and you can really achieve a lot of the things that you may want to have as a young person.
Astrid?
I think very important is to have patience and perseverance. And not only with the people you're working with or the issues you're working with, but with yourself. Because you learn. There's no template for any of the work any of us are doing. There's no playbook where you can see what happens next. And a lot of times there's a lot of stumbling blocks, and there's a lot of times when you think you could have done something better, and it's having patience with yourself and giving yourself that ability to grow, and that ability to say you're going to continue doing it because you're the one that can do it. All of us in here have a contribution that we can make. Every single person in this room has a different story, has a different background, has something that they can contribute. But you have to have that perseverance of being able to say you're going to keep doing it no matter what happens. And ultimately, it does make a difference. I think every single one of us are on this stage. I don't think any of us imagined to be on a stage like this. But here we are, because we kept going, but because there's also been a lot of patience with ourselves in growing, but also with the people working with. When Muzoon mentioned that people tell her that, what the best option is for their kids, I work with communities and my own family who for years said, we have to stay quiet. No le digas a nadie. You have to stay very quiet. You can't tell them that you're undocumented. And when we finally started speaking up, not only as Dreamers and as undocumented youth, but as people, and starting to ask that we be recognized, that was completely changing a narrative that our families had told us to not do. And so it's patience in your growth.
To build off what they just said, I'm gonna make it plain and simple for you. Remember, nobody writes your book better than you. Remember that you are not dumb, you are not incapable, you make the impossible possible. You're going to always have individuals to tell you that what you can and cannot do. You're going to have individuals tell you what you cannot accomplish. Do you think that any of us would be sitting on this stage if we allow those things to phase us? Do you think any of us would be sitting here and challenging societal norms if we allowed the norms to become us? Do you think that an 18-year-old from the west side of Chicago could manage and budget $500,000 for a fiscal school year? These things no one would trust with people our age. So to my young people in the audience, remember, you were born a leader, you are a leader, and you shape and you mold the platform for future leaders.
The next question, you don't all have to answer this, but if anyone's willing to answer it, Noah said, what is one mistake you made in your life and what did you learn from it?
I'll take this. I think it was listening to too many people, not listening to myself. Again, it's your growth. I think I have a beautiful opportunity of speaking for myself, but also I think in this whole world you end up representing your entire kind of community, and so you want to please everybody. You want to make everybody feel proud. You want to make everybody feel as if you said what they wanted you to say and the question that somebody else wanted you. And I think after a while and after a lot of years of doing it, it kind of starts to become muddled. But you always have to remember that it's what you were doing this for. And I know a lot of times that sounds a little bit selfish, and that's the least, that's the thing none of us want to do, I think. But it's important too. It's important to know what you stand for, what you want to fight for, because ultimately that's what's going to be, again, your contribution. And so for me, I think it was a mistake in that I think sometimes myself, I got lost in everything that happens and, being very reactive to the situations, being very, instead of thinking about what a next step would be, it was being very reactive to the negative rhetoric, to the people saying I should go back home when this is my home. And so that was a lot of listening to, especially with social media. Social media is a beautiful tool and it's wonderful. It's how I got more involved with the issues. But it's also horrible to listen to people every single day and being bombarded with, horrible, there's no words for it. It's horrible, the things that people say to each other on the internet. And so that would be it. For me, it's just remember that you have to listen to yourself and that, again, you learn and you grow from it.
Well, the next question actually goes into that. One of you can answer it. Jessica said, so how do you maintain engagement for a cause that requires long-term commitment? I mean, one of the things that's really frustrating to me as an older person is, like, I like Twitter as well as the next person, and I use it to wish people happy birthday and send out messages and refer people to articles I wish they'd read. But, a lot of things take a long time. They're like pushing a rock up a hill. And in order for you to get to the point where you can make this speech, there were, I know, countless days where you tried X and it didn't work and you had to go to Y, right?
Sir.
Okay, so tell them what the secret is. You're really sitting on this stage because you're stickers. And I often, as an older person, have the feeling that one value I was raised with by my grandfather, principally when I was little, and my mother. My grandfather was a white guy who had a grocery store in an African-American community when there were no food stamps. And he fed everybody when they had no money, if they were working. He said it was his obligation to make sure their children could eat. But he was a sticker. So how do you become a sticker in a Snapchat, Twitter world where we're told that the average attention span of a television viewer is 8 seconds? This is important. This may be the most important thing about all of them, because you're up here clapping for them because they're all stickers against all the odds.
Do you mind if I start?
It's coming.
I'm known for my quotes, y'all. See, Dr. King once said that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And if you allow darkness to overcome who you are, you can't remind yourself that you are not the light. See, sometimes we forget that dark spaces are meant for us. And we become so wound up in the achievement instead of our sacrifices in the process. And in my process, and in the process of individuals who helped develop this work and mold this work, I found myself failing. I found myself not being at the levels I wanted to be. Therefore, I fell into depression. Therefore, I thought that I was not great enough for the people. The people did not want to hear from me. The people did not see who I was. They did not see my vision, my goals, and my aspirations. And so I lost my purpose. There are many of us in this room who have to ignite our purpose. When last Saturday, I lost a 15-year-old named Mr. Shaw due to gun violence. And I texted my mother and I was like, I don't know if I can continue this work because I'm broken. It's not making a difference. It's not making a change. But you have to understand and remember that change is being made. You just don't see it. Sometimes the best visions, the best achievements, we cannot see. And so we must love our failures more than we love our achievements, because those failures allowed us to become who we were desired to be.
Totally agree. I find that's really true. I take all my failure and all my barriers, all these, whatever I had to face, discrimination, persecution, even imprisonment, even being locked up in the prison for 7 years, and even seeing my family members, my grandma, my auntie, uncle, my cousins are locked up in the confinement camps in Burma, in Rakhine State for more than 5 years now. I'm seeing this really horrifying. It's like really, really heartbroken. But yet, I believe this is not at the end of the war. And we shouldn't just be given up or broken by those failures or those barriers or those threats. We should take this as an opportunity to really bring justice and peace for the society. As a person, as a human being, as a person, responsible person, being regarding myself as a responsible person in the society, among the humankind. If we don't act on this, if we just give up and stop because of all this hardship, we will never achieve anything. We will never achieve any success, or we will never have a peace and justice for the people who we are serving for.
In fact, as they explained that in such an amazing way, to be honest, we all have ups and downs in our lives, and we all face a lot of challenges, and maybe on the daily basis we become sad, or we feel like we are hopeless and we cannot do anything in our lives, and we are, not that people who can make a difference. But I believe that when we fail, it is the step before the greatest success life that we have. The successful life should have a lot of failure before that success in our lives. So we have to be determined and don't let all the negative things around us to overcome us and to be stronger than us. Because if we just look to the negative sides in our life, we will easily fail and we will easily become a failure. So we must just look to the positive sides in our lives. I remember when I lived in refugee camps, of course, it wasn't the thing that I wanted to happen to me in my life. I didn't want to become a refugee or even to leave my country, to leave my friends, and to leave my relatives, and everything actually to me is in my country. And I love my country so much. And when I had to leave everything behind, that was the hardest decision in my life, but we had no choice. And when you go to a life that you don't know anything about it, it is something really sad and something could, make you fail and, just lose hope easily. But when I arrived to the camp and even the life was really tough and completely different where I come from. For example, I lived in a house, then I lived in a tent, and we had no electricity in the camp. It was really hard to get water. You have to walk like such a long distance to get water. You have to meet new friends to get to know new people around you. But for me, I just thought about these challenges and I thought about the solution. And I found the solution exists inside me. Because if we fail inside, we will fail outside. And once you believe in yourself, people will believe in you. And once you believe what happened to you, it is not your fault. For example, I had to leave my country because of war, and I was just a young child at 14 years old and even less. So I didn't make that war, and I didn't want to live like in a refugee camp where maybe it is hard for me to get to on most of my rights, especially my right of education. So at that moment, I believed if I make a change by myself, people will believe in me and believe that it is my right to get my rights, and it is my right to be successful in my life and to not lose hope. And that's why I wanted to give that hope to everyone. So I believe if this motivation comes from you, it could be spread to the all people around you. And if you have hope, this hope could be also a hope to others. So just, believe in yourselves and always try to think about positive things that could benefit you and benefit the people in your lives. Because if, each individual thinks he cannot or she cannot do anything, then the whole society will be, failure. So if we want to make really successful societies, this starts by individuals, and I believe by young people like you, students like you, who really could make this difference and can develop this country and any country in the world. And this starts by young people.
Thank you. Yes. We're out of time, but I want you to look at them all once more. And I love this. I've been in a lot of fights. I've been in a lot of struggles. I've been in a lot of campaigns. There are many aspirations people have in life that require talent and courage and persistence, but they are in pursuit of a goal that you know someone will achieve. You want to be the first African-American billionaire in your neighborhood. You think, well, somebody can achieve that. You want to win some international scholarship. Someone can achieve that. You want to become the first person in your family to get a university degree and build a respectful life. Somebody will achieve that. None of them can achieve the goal they have set without getting people to imagine doing something they never imagined themselves doing. Treating the Rohingya like people, you must be kidding. Leaving my daughter in school when I could marry her off and it would all be better off financially. turning my guns in for all the hard work it takes to build a real economy, a real education system, a real future in our neighborhood. Forgetting about the law and actually treating these immigrants like people? You must be kidding. The greatest of all challenges, but in the end, the ones that matter most, require other people to examine their lives in a new and different way, and to agree that something is possible which you dreamed, but you can't have your dream come true unless someone else embraces. That's why you admire them so much. And you should look for those challenges for yourselves. Let's give them a big hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, the plenary session is now concluded. Students and guests, thank you for attending and have a pleasant evening. CGIU student members, please remain in your seats. You will now be directed by Mark Poncher for the 2018 class photo. Thank you.
Jeff was saying you're going to lose people who wait much longer. I said you were just waiting for the right time. I'd like them to go on stage. Yeah.
CGIU students, please remain in your seats. CGIU attendees, please remain in your seats for a few more minutes. So, CGIU students, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to do our class photo. So those of you who have a guest badge or a VIP badge, thank you very much for